going to talk about D times V plus F is greater than R. Okay, D times V plus F is greater than R. So when we talk about intentional thoughts or the stress of what we're all doing right now, the cash flow, gaining customers, the mountain of work that we all have to do, and the difference we have to do. So the first thing that we need to do over here is I want you to add a plus learnings right underneath it. All right, so here's what happens right here. D stands for dissatisfaction. Right? Times your vision of what you want the situation to be. All right, and then we have to do plus first steps plus or times learnings, and then it has to be greater than the resistance. The resistance, right? So we talk about in leadership all the time. Sorry, I didn't realize we're not getting all of that. Let me do a little, there we go. So right now in leadership and leadership coaching and leadership training or behavioral, we're talking about there is so much noise out there that are taking people, and I'm going to come back to this in just a second. I got paper left. But when we talk about leadership and dissatisfaction, we have a bell curve, right? So dissatisfaction has to be here's the center of it. This is all out, and this is all in. So when we talk about dissatisfaction, think about it from this standpoint as a leader. As a leader, we're trying to lead people. We're trying to lead ourselves over this mountain to all in, right? We know that in our world right now, there are many people leading others. And if we're not louder, stronger, faster, and talking in a positive moment, they get drugged back here. They get drugged back here. They get drugged back here because there's so many people talking about, and we can just talk about this bad and positive. So when you start talking about dissatisfaction, we have to know about what are we dissatisfied? What are we looking at? What are we listening to? And how do we get to here first and then get to here and then get to here and then get to here, and then get to here. And then it's now a choice every day for us to be positive. We must decide, we must name it, we must put on our, what are we dissatisfied? The second thing we have to do then is we have to look at our vision. What do we want it to be? What do we want it to be? I laugh a lot. I talk to a lot of clients, but how many of you guys got through the first 7 or 8 days of, or let's just talk about January. How many of you guys got through January and said, I never thought it could be worse than 2020, but for some reason we're right there again. We must look at what is our vision of what we want our world to be. Now, when I say our world, that sounds very selfish. It sounds really, really selfish. But what I need you to know about this really, really selfish statement is, if we don't do us first, we're no good to anybody else. So we must pick a vision of what we want it to be. And then this is just like SMART goals. What's the first thing we have to do? The first step is a choice. It's a choice to do something different than we've always done. And that goes over here to the next part of it is choice ties directly to learnings. Learnings. What have we learned in our lifetime? What have we learned today? What did we learn yesterday? What did we learn about our vision and our dissatisfaction in order to move forward? We have to take those learnings and go, oh my gosh, I did do this. I'm going to use a word that's a strong word, but I don't have any other words. I hate it when people say, I failed. Oh, I failed. I failed. No, you learned. Failure is not a person. Learning is a person. You are all people. We learn. Yes, we may do things wrong, but we have to go about it as, what did I learn from that? Because carrying around those bad decisions is okay, but it's not okay for the rest of our lives. And that's what gets in the way. So we must look at, what are our learnings about our vision and our dissatisfaction? That's what we have to look at. After we take a look at this, now the hard part, resistance. What is stopping us from making a choice? Resistance is based on fear. Because we know where we're at, we don't know what's going to happen. When we make a different choice, our bodies, our minds, we have been cultured to go to what is the worst case scenario. Or we skip over the what part of it. We start listing out that worst case scenario, worst case scenario, worst case scenario. And that's what our culture's all about. It's about fear of what the unknown, and it always is a great big barrier for us. Again, we must, collectively as a human group, us coaching, leadership, you guys are here, you're taking steps in your life. We have to take D times V plus F times learnings has to be greater than the R. This is one of the greatest parts of business, is because we can consistently look at the formula for change and look at how do we, you, me, how do we change?